Welcome everyone to our YouTube channel, the place where we share authentic, fascinating, and valuable stories from history. In today's video, we will explore President Andrew Jackson and the Trail of Tears, one of the most tragic chapters in American history, when tens of thousands of Native Americans were forced to leave their homelands. Thank you so much for supporting our channel. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe so we can keep bringing you more meaningful videos. And now, without further ado, let's dive straight into the video. Picture this, it's the early 19th century, and the young United States is expanding rapidly. But there's a problem. Native American tribes have lived on these lands for generations. What happens next is a tale of broken promises, forced relocation, and immense suffering. At the center of it all stands Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States, and his controversial Indian Removal Act. To understand the events that led to the Trail of Tears, we need to step back and look at the historical context. The relationship between European settlers and Native Americans had been fraught with tension since the earliest days of colonization. As the United States grew, so did the demand for land. Many white settlers viewed Native American territories as obstacles to progress and expansion. By the 1820s, 5 major Native American tribes, the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Muscogee Creek, and Seminole, lived in the southeastern United States. These tribes, often referred to as the Five Civilized Tribes, had adopted many aspects of European American culture, including farming techniques, written languages, and even slavery. Despite this, they faced increasing pressure to give up their lands. Enter Andrew Jackson, a man whose life was intertwined with Native American history long before he became president. As a military leader, Jackson had fought against Native Americans in various conflicts, earning a reputation as a fierce and sometimes ruthless commander. His victory over the Creek Nation in the Battle of Horseshoe Bend in 1814 led to the acquisition of millions of acres of native land. When Jackson became president in 1829, he brought with him a firm belief in the policy of Indian removal. He argued that it was necessary for the growth and security of the nation. In 1830, Jackson signed into law the Indian Removal Act, which authorized the president to negotiate treaties with Native American tribes for their relocation to federal territory west of the Mississippi River. The act was met with fierce debate in Congress and opposition from many quarters, including prominent figures like Davy Crockett. However, Jackson and his supporters argued that removal was the only way to protect Native Americans from the encroachment of white settlers and preserve their way of life. Among the 5 civilized tribes, the Cherokee mounted the most organized resistance to removal. They had established a sophisticated government, including a constitution modeled after that of the United States. The Cherokee Nation, led by Principal Chief John Ross, fought a removal policy through legal channels. In a landmark case, Worcester v. Georgia in 1832, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Georgia could not impose its laws on Cherokee tribal lands. Chief Justice John Marshall declared that the Cherokee Nation was a distinct community with self-governance rights. However, President Jackson reportedly responded, "John Marshall has made his decision. Now let him enforce it." Despite the legal victory, the pressure on the Cherokee and other tribes continued to mount. Some native leaders, seeing the writing on the wall, negotiated removal treaties. In 1835, a small faction of Cherokee signed the Treaty of New Echota, agreeing to give up Cherokee lands in exchange for territory in present-day Oklahoma. However, the majority of Cherokee, including Chief John Ross, opposed this treaty and refused to leave. The forced removal began in earnest in 1838, under the direction of President Martin Van Buren, who continued Jackson's policies. U.S. troops and state militias began rounding up Cherokee people. Families were forced from their homes at gunpoint, with little time to gather possessions. They were held in cramped, disease-ridden internment camps before being marched westward. The journey that followed became known as the Trail of Tears. It was a brutal 100-mile trek across 9 states, undertaken in harsh weather conditions with inadequate supplies. The Cherokee were not alone in this ordeal. The other 4 of the 5 civilized tribes also faced forced relocation during this period. The conditions during the journey were horrific. Thousands died from exposure, disease, and starvation. The exact number of deaths is unknown, but estimates suggest that between 4,000 and 8,000 Cherokee perished on the Trail of Tears. For the other tribes, the toll was similarly devastating. The Choctaw, for instance, lost nearly half their population during their removal. Those who survived the journey arrived in Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma, to find an unfamiliar land. They had to rebuild their lives and communities from scratch, often in conflict with other displaced tribes and under the watchful eye of the U.S. government. The Trail of Tears stands as one of the most shameful episodes in American history. It represents a clear violation of human rights and a betrayal of the principles of justice and equality upon which the United States was supposedly founded. The forced relocation of Native Americans didn't end with the 5 civilized tribes. Throughout the 19th century, other native nations across the country faced similar fates as the United States expanded westward. The legacy of the Trail of Tears and the Indian Removal Act continues to resonate today. For Native American communities, it represents a profound historical trauma that has had lasting impacts on their cultures, languages, and ways of life. Many Native Americans today can trace their family histories back to ancestors who survived the Trail of Tears. In recent decades, there has been growing recognition of the injustices committed during this period. The U.S. government has issued formal apologies, and efforts have been made to preserve and commemorate the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears National Historic Trail, established in 1987, traces the routes taken by the Cherokee and other tribes during their forced relocation. However, controversy still surrounds the figure of Andrew Jackson and his role in this dark chapter of American history. While some defend Jackson as a man of his time who believed he was acting in the nation's best interests, others view him as responsible for what amounts to ethnic cleansing. This debate reflects broader discussions about how to reckon with the more troubling aspects of America's past. The story of Andrew Jackson and the Trail of Tears serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of expansionism and the dangers of policies based on racial prejudice. It challenges us to confront difficult truths about our history and to consider how the echoes of past injustices continue to shape our present. The story of Andrew Jackson and the Trail of Tears reveals the darker side of American history, tragedy that must never be forgotten. We hope today's video has given you valuable insights and a deeper understanding of the past. If you found this video helpful and meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming content. Once again, thank you so much for your support. See you in our next videos.